Don't move to Dallas in 2023. Just don't. Okay, I'm just kidding. Don't get me wrong, Dallas is an absolutely amazing place to live. But to be honest, there's some pretty big downfalls to living here as well. And today we're going to cover 6 cons to living in Dallas that you may not have heard before. Because it's important to not only look at the pros about a place, but also look at the cons, because sometimes the cons are just as important. And you're going to want to stick around to point number 5, because this is the one that surprised me the absolute most when I moved to Dallas. So let's get into it right now. My name is Michael Caraway. I'm a realtor in the Dallas, Texas metro. And if this is your first time to the channel, make sure to tap that subscribe button and hit the bell so you're notified every single time that I publish a new video to this channel. I'm grateful to get to be able to work with people just like you looking to make a move to the Dallas, Texas metro. And if you're interested in moving here and just want somebody to brainstorm with and figure out what part of the town might be best for you, then reach out, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. We can set up a strategy session and figure out where is the right place for you to land in the Dallas, Texas metro. All right, so like I said, there are 6 major cons to moving to Dallas, Texas that you may not have heard before, and we're gonna jump into those right now. The first one, pretty obvious, is the heat. Now, when I first moved to Texas, it was in the month of May, and I've kind of thought to myself, you know, this heat isn't too bad. But then gave it a few months later, we were in July, and the heat actually was pretty bad. Now, there are definitely hotter places in the US that I've been to, but the heat is something you're gonna have to deal with here in Texas. In July and August, the average high temperature is around 96 degrees. And you're probably thinking, oh, that's not too bad. But wait until you hear this. In 2022, we had a total of 47 days over 100 degrees. And 21 of those days were right in a row. From July 16th to August 5th, it was over 100 degrees every single day. Needless to say, we were in the pool pretty much nonstop. And you're probably wondering, okay, but what's the humidity level like? Well, just like the temperature, it is a little higher, but there are a lot worse places in the US. The average annual percentage of humidity in Dallas, Texas is around 66%. Now, where I come from in Iowa, it's like 80% because of all the crops up there. It's absolutely madness, and I don't miss that at all. The second con of living in Dallas, Texas, which is how flat it is. You know, I feel like when you're driving through the Dallas, Texas metro, it's like literally just like your car stays at the same level the entire time. You don't ever see roads that are going up and down. You never get into like the country when you see like rolling hills and stuff like that. It's just not something that I've seen very frequently around here. If you get a little south and you go more towards Austin, you can get into hill country a little bit, and you can get some of that topography there, but in the Dallas, Texas metro, it's really, really rare. All right, so let's move on to the third con. The third con to living in Dallas, Texas is the outdoor recreation. Now, I'm not saying there's no outdoor recreation here. That's just not true. There is. But you're not gonna get the diversity of outdoor recreation that you would in a place like Colorado or even Arkansas or Tennessee. Probably the most common outdoor recreation thing to do is to get out on the lake. There are a few lakes around Dallas, but really if you want to get to the good ones, you have to travel a few hours away. And that's okay with a lot of people. There's also some really good nature preserves that you can get into and hit the trails and enjoy nature a little bit more. And things like camping, for example, are really limited in the Dallas metro because so much of it is urban. All right, so let's move on to the fourth con, which is you're gonna need a car. Dallas is super spread out. Like, you don't really realize how big Dallas is until you get here. You know, depending on how bad traffic is, it could take you as much as 2 hours to get from the very north part of the Dallas metro to the south part of the Dallas metro. It is huge. And then you start counting in, you know, Arlington and Fort Worth. It is a huge, huge metroplex that we have here. The Dallas metro really expanded outward quickly and didn't really focus on making condensed areas. So that means that you're usually having to spend some time in the car to be able to get from place to place. Now, of course, you can get more walkable areas as you get closer to downtown, but if you're living, you know, on the north side of Dallas or even more further up into the suburbs, you're really not gonna have those urban areas. And you really are gonna have to have a car because public transportation in Dallas really isn't that great. You know, there's a light rail system, there's some buses, but honestly, if you're relying on that, it's gonna be a headache for you because it doesn't serve all of the communities around here, especially if you're in the suburbs. You're really gonna have to be in a car. All right, so let's move on to the fifth point. And this one was the one that shocked me the most when we moved here. I honestly couldn't believe it. And that con is the steep property taxes. You know, a lot of people focus on how great Texas is because there is no state income tax, and that attracts a lot of people. They're like, oh, I'm gonna save so much money. But to be honest, you're probably not saving much money because property taxes are way higher here than at least what I was used to. Generally speaking, the property tax rates around here are anywhere between 2 to 2.5%, and there are some that are lower and higher than that, but it's a good rule of thumb. But remember, property taxes are based on the assessed value of a home, not the actual market value of the home. So just because you buy a house for $500,000 doesn't mean you're paying property taxes on $500,000. It's usually quite lower than that. And if you want to see what property taxes are on a specific property, then go to the county that you're looking in, look at the tax assessor website, and you can do a property search there. And that brings us to our last con, and that is tornadoes. Now, some people are probably used to this and they're just gonna be like, oh, that's not a con at all. But for me, I'm terrified of tornadoes. I really don't like them. Texas averages around 132 tornadoes every year, and a majority of those happen between April and June. Now, I've never personally been impacted by a tornado here, but there are plenty of people that have in the metro, and it's just a risk that you run if you live here. So there you have it, 6 cons to living in Dallas, Texas. Now, I still absolutely love living here. I don't regret our decision to move here. It's definitely an amazing place to live, but you gotta take these 6 cons into consideration before you pull the trigger. And if you need help figuring out where you need to land in the Dallas, Texas metro, then reach out anytime. We'll set up a strategy call and we'll figure out that perfect place for you. Until next time, I'll see you later.